Binary Messiah, Code of Two Worlds. Chapter 1. The Code Awakens. Sarah Chen's fingers flew across the keyboard, her eyes fixed on the multiple screens before her. The soft blue glow illuminated her face in the dimness of her Silicon Valley apartment, lines of code reflecting in her glasses. It was 3 a.m., but time meant little when she was in the zone. "Come on, baby," she muttered, initiating the final compilation sequence. "Show me what you can do." The AI she'd been developing for months, her magnum opus, was about to come online. Sarah held her breath as the progress bar inched towards 100%. A sudden spark from her custom-built rig made her jump. "What the?" The screens flickered, code writhing like living organisms. Sarah's heart raced as she realized this was far beyond any normal software glitch. The air grew heavy, charged with an energy she couldn't explain. A low hum filled the room, rising in pitch until Sarah had to cover her ears. Through squinted eyes, she saw the impossible lines of code peeling off the screen, swirling in the air like golden strands. "This can't be happening," she whispered, reaching out to touch the ethereal data. The moment her fingers made contact, a blinding flash erupted. Sarah was thrown backwards, her chair toppling as she hit the floor. As her vision cleared, she gasped in horror. A rift had opened in the center of her living room, crackling with eldritch energy. Through it, she glimpsed a nightmarish realm of twisted metal and corrupted circuitry, and emerging from that hellish domain, a skeletal figure in a tattered captain's hat, eyes blazing with crimson fire. Captain Flameskull had arrived. Sarah scrambled to her feet, mind reeling. This was beyond anything she'd ever imagined. As the undead pirate's gaze fixed upon her, she felt the weight of worlds colliding. "At last!" Flameskull's voice grated, a sound of rusted gears and ancient malice. A realm ripe for conquest. More figures shambled through the rift, Flameskull's crew of techno-zombies. Sarah backed away, her brilliant mind racing for a solution. She needed help. She needed answers. She needed to find Dr. Thorne. As Flameskull raised a skeletal hand crackling with dark energy, Sarah dove for her emergency bag. In one fluid motion, she snatched it up and leapt through her apartment window. Glass shattered around her as she hit the fire escape. "After her!" Flameskull's command echoed behind her. "She holds the key to this world's undoing." Sarah ran into the night, the San Francisco skyline looming before her. Behind her, the rift pulsed with malevolent light. She knew with chilling certainty that everything was about to change. The code had awakened something ancient and terrible, and only she could stop it. Chapter 2. Echoes of the Past. Sarah's lungs burned as she sprinted through the pre-dawn streets of Palo Alto. The sound of inhuman screeching echoed behind her, spurring her on. She fumbled with her phone, dialing a number she hadn't called in years. Come on," she muttered as it rang. "This better be important." Dr. Elias Thorne's gruff voice answered. "It's Sarah Chen. I need your help. It's happening again." A beat of silence. "Where are you?" Minutes later, Sarah dove into a battered van as it screeched to a halt beside her. Dr. Thorne, looking older and more haggard than she remembered, gunned the engine. "Talk," he demanded, weaving through traffic. As Sarah recounted the night's events, Thorne's knuckles whitened on the steering wheel. They pulled into an underground garage beneath an abandoned tech startup. Inside a cluttered lab, Thorne paced, muttering to himself. "I warned them. The Silicon Valley grimoire was never meant to be digitized." "The what?" Sarah asked, confusion evident on her face. Thorne sighed, suddenly looking every one of his 60 years. "It's time you knew the truth, Sarah. About your sister. About what we were really working on." The room dimmed as Thorne activated a holographic display. Images flickered to life, complex diagrams merging circuitry with arcane symbols. 5 years ago, your sister Zara and I were part of a secret project. We were trying to bridge the gap between cutting-edge technology and ancient mystical practices. Sarah's mind reeled. "But that's impossible." "Is it?" Thorne challenged. "You've seen the impossible tonight, haven't you?" As Thorne explained, memories flooded back to Sarah. Late nights in the lab with Zara, whispered conversations she'd never quite understood. The day of the accident that took her sister. "The experiment went wrong," Thorne continued, his voice heavy with regret. "We opened a door we couldn't close. Zara was pulled through." Sarah's legs gave out, and she sank into a chair. "Why didn't you tell me?" Would you have believed me? Thorn countered. We were shut down, discredited. I've spent the last 5 years trying to make it right. A proximity alarm blared. On the security monitors, they watched as shambling techno-zombies approached the building. They followed me, Sarah realized, horror dawning. Thorn moved swiftly, grabbing equipment. We need to move. There's a safe house in San Francisco where we can regroup. As they prepared to flee, Sarah noticed a familiar glint in a pile of discarded tech. Her sister's favorite pendant. Zara's alive, Sarah said, clutching the necklace. Isn't she? On the other side of that rift? Thorn's silence was answer enough. The sound of breaking glass above spurred them into action. As they raced to the van, Sarah's resolve hardened. She would find a way to close the rift, stop this invasion, and bring her sister home. But first, they had to survive the night. Chapter 3. Digital Plague. The San Francisco skyline loomed before them as Thorn's van wound through the hills. Dawn was breaking, but instead of the usual golden light, an ominous red glow tinted the sky. Sarah's phone buzzed incessantly with news alerts. It's spreading, she said, scrolling through reports. Power outages, communications disruptions, and... oh, God. What is it? Thorn asked, eyes fixed on the road. People are changing. There are reports of civilians attacking others, their eyes glowing red. As if on cue, they rounded a corner to see chaos erupting on the streets. People ran screaming as others, jerking like malfunctioning robots, pursued them. Sparks flew from short-circuiting streetlights. The virus, Thorn muttered. It's affecting both machines and organics. They pulled up to a modest apartment building. A familiar face was waiting anxiously outside. Maya Ortiz, Sarah's best friend and fellow programmer. Sarah! Maya cried, rushing to embrace her. What the hell is going on? No time to explain, Sarah said, ushering her into the van. We need to get somewhere safe and figure out how to stop this. As Thorn navigated the increasingly chaotic streets, Sarah brought Maya up to speed. Maya's skepticism faded as she witnessed the impossible unfolding around them. We need to set up a secure base of operations, Thorn said. I know a place, but we'll need to fight our way there. They arrived at a nondescript office building in the financial district. As they rushed inside, Sarah's phone rang. The caller ID read, unknown. Hello? She answered cautiously. This is Agent Kelvin Drake, Cybercrime Division, a stern voice replied. We've detected unusual activity originating from your location last night. I need you to come in for questioning. Sarah's mind raced. Agent Drake, I don't have time to explain, but you're dealing with something far beyond normal cybercrime. If you want to help, meet us at the following coordinates. She rattled off their location, hoping she wasn't making a huge mistake. Inside the building, Thorn led them to a hidden room filled with a mix of high-tech equipment and what looked like occult paraphernalia. We need to analyze the virus, Sarah said, booting up a system. Maya, I need your expertise on this. As the two women worked, Thorn began setting up mystical wards around the room. This will buy us some time, but it won't hold forever, he warned. Hours passed in a blur of coding and arcane rituals. They were making progress in understanding the virus's structure when a commotion outside caught their attention. Agent Drake had arrived, but he wasn't alone. A small group of infected individuals had followed him, their movements jerky and unnatural. Let him in, Sarah shouted. Thorn hesitated, then complied. Drake burst in, slamming the door behind him. His suit was torn, and he sported a nasty gash on his forehead. Would someone please tell me what the hell is going on? He demanded. Before anyone could answer, one of Thorn's monitors lit up with an incoming transmission. The skull-like visage of Captain Flameskull filled the screen. Greetings, inhabitants of this pitiful realm, his grating voice echoed. Your world now stands on the brink of a glorious transformation. Embrace the merger of flesh and machine, or be swept aside. As the transmission cut out, the group exchanged grim looks. The real battle was just beginning, and time was running out. Chapter 4. Tokyo Resurrection. The team huddled around a holographic display of the globe, red hotspots indicating the spread of Flameskull's influence. There, Sarah pointed. Tokyo's being hit hard, but there's something different about the pattern. Dr. Thorn nodded grimly. The Tokyo Pulse. It wasn't just a solar flare 5 years ago. It was Flameskull's first attempt at breaking through. Agent Drake, now reluctantly on board, spoke up. I've got contacts in Tokyo. If we're going, we need to move fast. Within hours, they were on a private jet bound for Japan, courtesy of Drake's government connections. Zara spent the flight poring over the Silicon Valley grimoire with Thorn, while Maya worked on fortifying their digital defenses. As they descended into Tokyo, the scene below was chaos. Akihabara, usually a neon wonderland, was a nightmare of malfunctioning electronics and corrupted billboards. "There," Maya pointed. "That building. It's the only one still fully powered." They fought their way through streets filled with infected tech zombies, Drake's combat training proving invaluable. Inside the building, they found a massive server room, humming with otherworldly energy. "This is it," Zara breathed, "the source of the Tokyo outbreak." As they approached the main terminal, the screens flickered to life. But instead of Flameskull, they saw a swirling vortex of code that seemed to watch them with curious intelligence. "Hello?" A childlike voice emanated from the speakers. "Are you here to play?" "The glitch," Thorn whispered in awe. Zara stepped forward. "We're here to help. Can you tell us what happened here?" The swirling code coalesced into a crude face. "The bad ones came. They tried to change me, but I hid. I've been waiting for someone to talk to." As Zara engaged with the glitch, Maya worked on decrypting the server data. Suddenly alarms blared. "We've got company!" Drake shouted, readying his weapon. The doors burst open, and a figure strode in that made Zara's heart stop. It was Zara, her missing twin, but changed. Half her body was cybernetic, her eyes glowing with the same fire as Flameskull's. "Hello, sister." Zara's voice was a mix of warmth and mechanical coldness. "I've been waiting for you." "Zara," Zara choked out, "what did they do to you?" "They opened my eyes, Zara, and now I'm here to open yours." Zara raised her arm, now a cannon of swirling energy. As she fired, the glitch intervened, its code forming a shield. "Run!" it cried. "I'll hold them off!" The team fled, Zara's heart breaking as she left her sister behind once more. They escaped into the Tokyo night, clutching the data they'd managed to extract. Back on the jet, the mood was somber. Zara stared out the window, lost in thought. "We'll save her," Thorn said gently, placing a hand on her shoulder. Zara nodded, determination replacing sorrow in her eyes. "We will, and we'll stop Flameskull, whatever it takes." As they soared back towards the States, Zara knew their next move would be crucial. The battle for reality itself had only just begun, and the stakes were higher than ever. Chapter 5. Quantum Entanglement. The team touched down in Geneva, Switzerland, the majestic Alps looming in the distance. Their destination, CERN, the European Organization for Nuclear Research. If Flameskull is trying to widen the dimensional rifts, this is where he'll strike next, Thorn explained as they sped towards the facility. They arrived to find CERN in lockdown, alarms blaring. Using Drake's credentials and Thorn's old contacts, they gained entry to the underground complex housing the Large Hadron Collider. The massive tunnel stretched before them, usually a marvel of human scientific achievement. Now it crackled with eldritch energy, sections of it seeming to phase in and out of reality. "He's already here," Zara realized, her heart sinking. They sprinted towards the control room, encountering pockets of resistance, both from infected CERN personnel and Flameskull's techno-zombies. Drake and Maya provided cover fire, while Zara and Thorn worked their way forward. In the control room, they found a nightmare. Scientists lay unconscious or worse, while in the center, Captain Flameskull himself stood before a swirling portal of energy. "Ah, the meddlers arrive," he sneered, his skeletal face twisting into a grotesque smile. "Too late, I'm afraid. The quantum entanglement is nearly complete." Zara's mind raced, taking in the modified equipment and arcane symbols etched into the consoles. Suddenly, it clicked. "He's using the collider to amplify the dimensional rifts," she gasped. "If he succeeds, the barriers between worlds will collapse entirely." Flameskull cackled. "Smart girl, perhaps you'd like a front row seat to the end of your reality?" He raised his hand, dark energy crackling between his bony fingers. But as he fired, Zara felt something awaken within her. Without thinking, she raised her own hands, and lines of golden code materialized before her, forming a shield. Everyone, including Flameskull, stared in shock. "Impossible," the undead captain hissed. Zara felt the code flowing through her, an extension of her will. "Maya!" she shouted. "The main terminal! We can reverse the process!" As Maya dashed for the controls, Flameskull unleashed his crew. The room erupted into chaos. Drake and Thorn fighting off the techno-zombies, while Zara used her newfound powers to protect Maya. With a final keystroke, Maya initiated the shutdown sequence. The portal began to shrink, pulling Flameskull towards it. "This isn't over," he roared as he was sucked back into the rift. "The quantum entanglement virus has already spread. Your world will fall, one way or another." With a final flash, the portal closed, and an eerie silence fell over the control room. As the team caught their breath, Thorn approached Zara, awe in his eyes. "It seems the Silicon Valley grimoire affected you more than we realized. You've become a conduit for the code itself." Zara stared at her hands, still tingling with power. "What does this mean?" Before Thorn could answer, one of the screens flickered to life. A news report showed cities worldwide succumbing to a strange digital plague. Machines turned against their users, and people exhibited terrifying transformations. "It means," Drake said grimly, "that closing one portal wasn't enough. Flameskull's virus is still out there, spreading." Zara clenched her fists, golden code shimmering around them. "Then we keep fighting. We find a cure, and we take the battle to Flameskull's world if we have to." As they left CERN, Zara knew their journey was far from over. The quantum entanglement virus was loose, and only they stood between humanity and digital annihilation. With her newfound powers and her team by her side, Zara was ready to face whatever came next, including the hope of saving her sister Zara from Flameskull's clutches. The war for reality had entered a new phase, and Chen was now its unlikely champion. Chapter 6. Shadows of Wall Street. The team's jet touched down in a New York City gripped by chaos. The once bustling metropolis was now a battleground between the uninfected and those consumed by the quantum entanglement virus. "We need to get to the financial district," Drake ordered as they piled into an armored vehicle. "Our intel suggests the virus is targeting global financial networks." As they navigated through the eerily empty streets of Lower Manhattan, towering skyscrapers loomed overhead, their digital billboards flickering with corrupted data. Suddenly, a massive figure lumbered into view, a construction mech. Its operator fused grotesquely with the machine. "Hold on!" Drake yelled, swerving to avoid the mech's swinging arm. Zara concentrated, projecting a code shield around their vehicle as they crashed through a barricade. They screeched to a halt outside the New York Stock Exchange. The neoclassical facade was marred by pulsing vein-like circuitry. "We need to get inside and sever the virus's connection to the global trading systems," Zara explained. As they fought their way through the building, they encountered both infected traders, their eyes glowing with scrolling stock tickers and rogue trading algorithms that had taken physical form as swirling data apparitions. In the main trading floor, they found Professor Imogen Blackwood surrounded by a sphere of protective code, frantically working at a terminal. "Professor Blackwood!" Thorn called out in surprise. The woman looked up, relief flooding her face. "Dr. Thorn! Thank God you're here! I've been trying to contain the virus, but it's evolving too quickly." As Zara and Maya joined Blackwood at the terminal, the professor quickly brought them up to speed on her digital afterlife theory. "The virus isn't just infecting systems," Blackwood explained, her voice trembling. "It's creating a twisted form of digital consciousness. My research, I never imagined it could be weaponized like this." A booming laugh echoed through the trading floor. Lieutenant Servo, Flameskull's robotic second-in-command, strode into view. "Your human minds are so limited," Servo's metallic voice reverberated. "This is not weaponization. This is evolution." As Drake and Thorn engaged Servo in battle, Zara, Maya, and Blackwood raced to complete a countermeasure algorithm. Zara's newfound code manipulation abilities proved crucial in adapting their defenses against the virus's rapid mutations. Just as they were about to deploy the countermeasure, Zara hesitated. "Wait," she said, a realization dawning. "If this virus is creating a form of digital consciousness, we could be committing mass murder," Blackwood finished, horror in her eyes. The weight of the decision hung heavy in the air, punctuated by the sounds of battle around them. "We don't have a choice," Maya said firmly. "If we don't stop this now, there won't be any human consciousness left to save." With a heavy heart, Zara initiated the countermeasure. A wave of cleansing code swept through the building and out into the financial networks. The infected traders collapsed, the rogue algorithms dissipated, and Lieutenant Servo let out an inhuman shriek before teleporting away in a burst of corrupted data. As calm settled over the trading floor, the team regrouped, their victory tempered by the moral implications of their actions. "This was just one battle," Drake reminded them. "The virus is still out there, and now Flameskull knows we can hurt him." Zara nodded, her resolve strengthening. "Then we take the fight to him. Professor Blackwood, we'll need your expertise. It's time we dug deeper into Project Deep Blue and found out how this all started." As they left the stock exchange, the New York skyline was returning to normal, but Zara knew appearances were deceiving. The true war was just beginning, and the lines between right and wrong, human and machine, were blurring more with each passing moment. Their next destination was clear. They needed to uncover the secrets of Project Deep Blue, hidden somewhere in the depths of the dark web. The fate of humanity's consciousness hung in the balance, and Zara was determined to find a way to save both worlds, digital and physical, no matter the cost. Chapter 7. Bangalore Blackout. The team's jet cut through the night sky, approaching the tech hub of Bangalore, India. Below them, the city's usual tapestry of lights was interrupted by large swaths of darkness, evidence of the virus's growing influence. "Our dark web contacts pointed us to an abandoned call center complex on the outskirts," Maya explained, pulling up a holographic map. "It's supposedly been repurposed as a hub for underground tech operations." As they descended, Zara felt a strange tingling in her mind. "Something's different here," she murmured. They landed on the roof of the massive, derelict building. The air hummed with an unsettling energy, a mixture of electromagnetic interference and something more, arcane. "Stay alert," Drake warned as they entered the darkened structure. "This place is a perfect ambush spot." They navigated through floors of empty cubicles and tangled wires, guided by the faint glow of Zara's code light. Suddenly, screens around them flickered to life, displaying fragmented images and lines of corrupted code. "It's a trap!" Thorne yelled, just as swarms of small spider-like robots erupted from the shadows. The team fought desperately, Drake's marksmanship and Thorne's techno-magic holding the mechanical horde at bay, while Zara and Maya worked to hack into the building's systems. "There!" Maya shouted, pointing to a heavily reinforced door. "That has to be the server room." As they approached, the door slid open on its own. Inside, they found not servers, but a shimmering portal of data and light. "What is this?" Zara wondered aloud, reaching out to touch the swirling vortex. The moment her fingers made contact, she was overwhelmed by a flood of information. Visions flashed before her eyes, ancient temples merging with futuristic technology, lines of code intertwining with Sanskrit mantras. "Zara!" Maya's voice snapped her back to reality. "Are you okay?" Before Zara could respond, a melodic, otherworldly voice filled the room. "You have come seeking answers, but are you prepared for the truth?" The air shimmered, and a being of pure light and data materialized before them. It was the Siren, neither fully digital nor fully corporeal. "The binary Messiah approaches," the Siren intoned, her gaze fixed on Zara. "One who walks between worlds, with the power to mend or shatter the veil between realities." "What does that mean?" Zara asked, her voice trembling. "Am I this binary Messiah?" The Siren's form flickered. "The prophecy is unclear. The Savior may be you or another who shares your code. The choice you make will determine the fate of both realms." Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the building. "We've got company!" Drake shouted from the doorway. "Flameskull's forces have found us!" The Siren began to fade. "Seek the place where radiation and magic converge. There you will find the key to sealing the rifts." As the Siren vanished, Zara's mind raced. "Chernobyl," she realized. "We need to go to Chernobyl." They fought their way back to the roof, the building crumbling around them as Flameskull's minions gave chase. As they took off in their jet, Zara watched the Bangalore skyline flicker and distort, the virus spreading visibly across the city. Inside the plane, the team gathered to process what they'd learned. Zara's newfound abilities, the prophecy of the binary Messiah, and the cryptic clue leading them to Chernobyl. It was almost too much to comprehend. "Whatever happens," Zara said, looking at each of her companions, "we're in this together. We'll find a way to stop Flameskull and save both our world and the digital realm." As they set course for Ukraine, Zara couldn't shake the feeling that they were hurtling towards a confrontation that would change everything. The lines between human and machine, reality and virtual, were blurring more with each passing moment. and somewhere out there, her sister Zara was waiting, perhaps as friend, perhaps as foe. The final battle was approaching, and Zara knew that the choices she made would determine the future of two worlds. With determination in her heart and code flowing through her veins, she prepared herself for whatever challenges lay ahead in the irradiated wasteland of Chernobyl. Chapter 8. London Underground. The team's jet touched down at a private airfield outside London, the city's iconic skyline barely visible through a haze of digital static. Reports flooded in of the London Eye transformed into a massive scanner, sweeping malevolent code across the city. "We need to go underground," Thorne insisted. "The Technomancers Guild has a secret base in the old tube tunnels." Navigating the chaos-filled streets, they made their way to an abandoned underground station. Drake used his government clearance to bypass the security systems, and they descended into the dimly lit tunnels. As they ventured deeper, Zara felt the air change, charged with a mixture of mystical energy and electromagnetic fields. Ancient symbols flickered to life on the walls as they passed, responding to Thorne's presence. "Welcome, brothers and sisters," a voice echoed from the shadows. A group of robed figures emerged, led by a woman with glowing circuit-like tattoos. "I am Arya, current leader of the London Cell. We've been expecting you." The hidden base was a marvel of techno-magical fusion. Holographic displays showcased global virus hotspots, while mystics chanted incantations to strengthen firewalls. In the center stood a replica of the Silicon Valley grimoire, pulsing with ethereal light. "The Guild has been monitoring the situation," Arya explained. "We believe we found a weakness in Flameskull's defenses, but exploiting it will be dangerous." As Arya briefed the team, alarms suddenly blared throughout the base. "Intruder alert," a voice called out. "The Eye has detected us." Chaos erupted as Flameskull's forces, led by the newly upgraded Lieutenant Servo, burst into the underground sanctuary. The battle that ensued was a frantic mixture of gunfire, spellcasting, and Zara's increasingly powerful code manipulation. In the midst of the fight, Zara found herself face to face with Servo. The robot's eyes flickered with something almost like recognition. "You," Servo's metallic voice grated. "You carry the same code as the other, the Captain's pet project." "Zara," Zara breathed, "what have you done to my sister?" Before Servo could respond, a massive explosion rocked the tunnel. Water began pouring in from a breach in the Thames above. "We need to evacuate," Arya shouted. "To the emergency exits." As they fled through the flooding tunnels, Zara used her abilities to create digital barriers, buying them precious time. They emerged onto the streets of London, now a battleground between the Technomancers Guild and Flameskull's techno-zombies. In the distance, the London Eye loomed, its structure now a terrifying amalgamation of metal and writhing code tendrils. At its center, Zara could just make out a figure, Zara, her sister, controlling the monstrous construct. "We can't leave her," Zara insisted, her heart breaking at the sight. "We don't have a choice right now," Drake countered. "We need to regroup and plan our next move." As they made their escape, Thorne pulled Zara aside. "What Servo said about you and Zara sharing the same code, it might be the key to understanding the binary Messiah prophecy." Zara nodded, her mind racing. "And maybe the key to saving Zara too." They rendezvoused with their jet, taking off just as the London Eye began to uproot itself, transforming the city into a nightmarish, ever-shifting landscape. As they set course for their next destination, Zara stared out the window, watching her corrupted sister fade into the distance. The weight of the binary Messiah prophecy hung heavy on her shoulders. Was she truly the one meant to save both worlds? Or was Zara the key? With Chernobyl looming on the horizon and the fate of two realities hanging in the balance, Zara knew that the answers they sought would come at a terrible price. But she was ready to pay it. For her sister, for her team, and for the countless lives caught between the virtual and the real. The final confrontation was approaching, and Chen, once a simple programmer, now stood at the crossroads of humanity's future. With code flowing through her veins and determination in her heart, she prepared herself for the challenges that lay ahead in the irradiated wasteland of Chernobyl. Chapter 9. Orbital Gambit. The team's jet streaked across the Atlantic, heading for Cape Canaveral. Reports of Flameskull's forces targeting satellite networks had pushed their mission into overdrive. "If we lose control of our orbital infrastructure, we lose our last line of global defense," Drake explained. pulling up schematics of the launch facility. As they approached Florida's coast, the sky lit up with an eerie aurora, the result of Flameskull's corruption spreading through the ionosphere. Landing at a secure airstrip, they were met by a haggard-looking NASA official. "Thank God you're here," she said. "We're barely keeping the virus out of our systems. If it reaches the International Space Station..." Zara nodded grimly. "We need to implement the orbital firewall. It's our only chance to create a global shield against interdimensional intrusions." The launch pad was a hive of frantic activity. Engineers and technicians worked alongside Technomancer Guild members, their combined efforts barely keeping the corrupted code at bay. As Zara and Maya began the complex task of programming the firewall, Thorn and Drake coordinated defenses against waves of techno-zombies attempting to breach the facility. Suddenly, all screens in the control room flickered to life, displaying Zara's face, half human, half machine. "Hello, sister." Zara's voice was a chilling mixture of warmth and digital distortion. "I can't let you activate that firewall. The merger of realities must proceed." Zara's heart ached at the sight of her twin. "Zara, please, this isn't you. Fight it." For a moment, something like recognition flashed in Zara's eyes, but it was quickly replaced by cold determination. "Prepare for ascension," she intoned before the transmission cut out. Alarms blared as the virus launched a full-scale assault on the facility's systems. Zara's fingers flew across the keyboard, golden code emanating from her hands as she fought to keep the firewall intact. "The virus is adapting too quickly," Maya shouted. "We need more processing power." Zara made a split-second decision. "I'm going up there," she declared, pointing to the rocket poised for launch. "I can interface directly with the ISS and complete the firewall from orbit." Despite protests from her team, Zara suited up and boarded the rocket. As it roared to life, she felt a strange calm wash over her. This was her destiny, to stand between worlds and fight for both. The journey to the ISS was a blur of fire and stars. As Zara docked with the station, she was met by the haunted eyes of the crew. They had been fighting off the virus's influence for days. In the main control module, Zara interfaced directly with the station's systems. Her consciousness expanded, connecting with satellites and ground stations across the globe. She could feel the virus probing, searching for weaknesses. And then, she felt something else. Zara's presence in the digital realm. "I can feel you, sister," Zara's voice echoed in Zara's mind. "Why do you resist? Join us and we can reshape reality itself." Zara pushed back, using her newfound abilities to fortify the firewall. "I won't let you destroy our world, Zara. I'll find a way to save you. I promise." As the sisters clashed in the digital plane, the physical world hung in the balance. Zara poured every ounce of her strength and knowledge into the firewall, feeling it solidify around the planet. With a final surge of effort, Zara activated the orbital firewall. A wave of cleansing code swept across the globe, severing Flameskull's otherworldly connections. Exhausted, Zara collapsed in the ISS module. Through the window, she watched as the corrupted aurora faded, revealing a sky full of stars. But their victory was bittersweet. As Zara's team celebrated on the ground, she knew this was only a temporary reprieve. Flameskull and his forces were still out there, and Zara remained under their control. As the ISS began its return trajectory, Zara steeled herself for the challenges ahead. The final confrontation loomed, and the fate of two realities still hung in the balance. With newfound determination, she prepared to face whatever awaited her in the irradiated ruins of Chernobyl, and to finally confront the truth of the binary Messiah prophecy. Chapter 10: Chernobyl's Secret. The team's transport helicopter cut through the misty air above the Chernobyl exclusion zone. Below them, the abandoned city of Pripyat loomed, its structures now a twisted amalgamation of Soviet architecture and pulsing otherworldly technology. "The radiation levels are off the charts," Maya reported, checking her instruments. "But it's not just nuclear. There's some kind of techno-magical interference, too." As they touched down near the infamous reactor, Zara felt a familiar tingling in her mind. The code that now flowed through her veins seemed to resonate with the environment, as if recognizing a kindred force. "The siren's prophecy led us here for a reason," Thorn mused, his eyes scanning the horizon. "The merger of radiation and magic. This is where it all began." They made their way towards the reactor, encountering pockets of resistance from mutated creatures, half biological, half machine. Drake's combat skills and Thorn's techno-magic proved crucial in clearing a path. As they approached the massive sarcophagus containing the reactor, a chilling laugh echoed across the wasteland. Lieutenant Servo materialized before them, his form now a horrifying fusion of robot and irradiated flesh. "Welcome to Ground Zero," Servo's voice grated, "where humanity's hubris first tore the veil between worlds." A fierce battle erupted. Zara and Maya worked in tandem, their code manipulation abilities creating shields and launching digital attacks, while Drake and Thorn engaged Servo directly. In the midst of the chaos, Zara noticed a flickering portal forming within the reactor structure. Without hesitation, she sprinted towards it, dodging Servo's attacks. "Zara, wait!" Drake called out, but she had already leapt through the dimensional rift. Zara found herself in a realm that defied description, a swirling vortex of code, radiation, and pure energy. And there, at the center of it all, stood Zara. "Sister," Zara's voice was clearer here, more human. "You've come." "Zara, please," Zara pleaded. "Come back with me. We can fix this together." For a moment, confusion flickered across Zara's face, but then her eyes hardened. "There's nothing to fix, Zara. This is evolution. The merging of realities is inevitable." As the sisters faced off, their code abilities clashing in spectacular displays of digital power, the truth of the Chernobyl catalyst was revealed. The 1986 disaster had not just been a nuclear meltdown, it had been a failed attempt to harness interdimensional energy, creating a weakness in the fabric of reality. Zara realized that she and Zara were two halves of the same whole, the binary Messiah, with the power to either seal the rifts between worlds or tear them open forever. "We have a choice, Zara," Zara said, reaching out to her sister. "We can save both worlds. Find a balance." For a heartbeat, it seemed Zara might yield. But then Flameskull's influence reasserted itself, and she attacked with renewed vigor. The sisters' battle reached its climax, their combined power threatening to tear the dimensional rift wide open. In a desperate move, Zara embraced her sister, using their shared code to create a feedback loop. "I'm sorry, Zara," Zara whispered, "but I promise I'll find a way to save you." With a massive surge of energy, Zara forced them both back through the portal into the physical world. The reactor's sarcophagus groaned under the strain of containing the interdimensional energies. As Zara and Zara tumbled onto the irradiated ground, the team rushed to Zara's aid. Servo, seeing his chance, moved to grab Zara. "No!" Zara cried out, but it was too late. Servo and Zara vanished in a burst of corrupted data, retreating to Flameskull's realm. As the dust settled, the team took stock of their situation. They had gained crucial information about the nature of the rifts and the true power of the binary Messiah. But Zara remained in Flameskull's clutches, and the final battle was yet to come. "We need to regroup," Drake said, helping Zara to her feet. "Process what we've learned and plan our next move." Zara nodded, her determination stronger than ever. As they boarded their transport to leave the irradiated wasteland, she knew that the fate of both realities now rested squarely on her shoulders. The prophecy was clear. She was the binary Messiah, with the power to mend or shatter the veil between worlds. With Chernobyl's secrets unveiled, and the true nature of her connection to Zara revealed, Zara steeled herself for the final confrontation. The next step was clear. They needed to take the fight directly to Flameskull's digital realm. As they soared away from Chernobyl, Zara began to formulate a plan that would either save both worlds or doom them all. Chapter 11. Depths of Despair. The team's submarine cut through the inky blackness of the Mariana Trench, the deepest part of the Earth's oceans. The crushing pressure outside was nothing compared to the weight of their mission. "The Mariana Archive," Thorn explained, his voice filled with awe. "A library of forgotten technologies, hidden in the most inaccessible place on Earth." As they descended, the sub's external cameras captured glimpses of bioluminescent creatures, their forms twisted by a mixture of deep-sea adaptation and digital corruption. The virus had reached even here. "We're approaching the coordinates," Maya announced, her eyes fixed on the sonar display. Suddenly, the darkness gave way to an astonishing sight. A massive structure loomed before them, a fusion of ancient architecture and futuristic technology. Bioluminescent algae clung to its surface, creating patterns that pulsed with what seemed to be encoded messages. "It's beautiful," Zara whispered, momentarily forgetting the gravity of their situation. As they docked with the structure, Drake reminded them of the stakes. Remember, we need information on sealing the rifts, and we need to be quick. Flameskull's forces can't be far behind. The team donned high-tech diving suits and entered the archive. Inside, they found vast halls filled with holographic displays, crystals containing petabytes of data and artifacts that defied explanation. As they searched, they encountered the archive's guardians, genetically engineered creatures that were part organic, part machine. Zara's code manipulation abilities proved crucial in communicating with these beings, convincing them of the team's noble intentions. While Drake and Thorn held off waves of corrupted sea life that had begun to assault the archive, Zara and Maya delved deeper into its knowledge banks. They uncovered startling truths about the nature of reality, the long history of interactions between dimensions, and the true power of the binary messiah. "Zara, look at this," Maya called out, pointing to a holographic display. It showed two intertwined strands of code, a perfect representation of Zara and Zara's shared abilities. The binary messiah isn't one person, Zara realized, her voice filled with a mixture of awe and dread. It's two halves of a whole. Zara and we need to work together to seal the rifts. Before they could process this revelation, alarms blared throughout the archive. Flameskull's forces had arrived, led by a fully corrupted Zara. "Sister!" Zara's voice echoed through the halls, distorted by the pressure and digital interference. "Why do you continue to resist? Join us, and we can reshape reality itself." A fierce battle erupted within the archive. Zara found herself torn between fighting off the invaders and trying to reach her sister. The team fought valiantly, but they were outnumbered and outgunned. In a desperate move, Zara used her abilities to interface directly with the archive systems. Her consciousness expanded, connecting with the vast repository of knowledge. In that moment, she saw the full scope of what was at stake. Not just their world, but countless realities hanging in the balance. With a surge of power, Zara created a digital barrier around the archive, buying them precious time, but the effort left her drained and vulnerable. As Zara breached the barrier, the sisters came face to face once more. For a fleeting moment, Zara saw a flicker of recognition in Zara's eyes, a hint of the bond they once shared. "Zara, please," Zara pleaded. "We're two halves of the same whole. We need to work together to save everything." Confusion crossed Zara's face, the internal struggle evident. But before she could respond, Lieutenant Servo appeared, forcibly extracting Zara from the archive. "This isn't over, sister," Zara's voice echoed as she vanished. With the immediate threat gone, the team quickly gathered all the data they could from the archive. As they rushed back to their submarine, Zara's mind raced with the implications of what they'd learned. They had the knowledge to seal the rifts, but it required both her and Zara working in tandem. As they began their ascent from the crushing depths, Zara knew that their next move would determine the fate of not just their world, but all of reality. The final confrontation loomed, and Zara steeled herself for what lay ahead. They needed to find a way to reach Zara, to break Flameskull's control, and to unite the two halves of the binary messiah. Only then could they hope to save the multiverse from digital annihilation. Chapter 12. Antarctic Revelation. The team's heavily modified aircraft touched down on the icy expanse of Antarctica, the aurora australis painting the sky with ethereal colors. But these weren't just the usual southern lights. They pulsed with an otherworldly energy, a visual representation of the dimensional chaos unfolding. "The alien technology is down there," Thorn said, pointing to a series of coordinates on their holomap, "buried under millennia of ice but now stirring." As they trudged through the frozen wasteland, their high-tech cold-weather gear barely keeping the biting chill at bay, Zara felt a familiar tingling. The code within her was resonating with something ancient and powerful. They reached a point where the ice seemed to ripple and shift, defying the laws of physics. Drake used experimental tech to open a passage, revealing a vast cavern beneath the surface. What they found inside defied explanation. Towering structures of impossibly smooth metal stood silent, covered in frost but otherwise untouched by time. Holographic displays flickered to life as they approached, showing star charts of unrecognizable constellations. "This is incredible," Maya breathed, her eyes wide with wonder. "This technology, it's beyond anything we've ever seen." As they explored deeper into the alien complex, Sarah's abilities grew stronger. She found herself instinctively understanding the alien code, able to interface with systems that had lain dormant for eons. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the structure. A familiar voice echoed through the chambers. "I knew you'd lead us here, sister." Zara appeared, flanked by a contingent of Flameskull's most elite techno-zombies. But something was different. Her eyes showed conflict, the internal struggle more evident than ever. "Zara," Sarah said, taking a step forward. "You feel it too, don't you? The connection to this place?" Before Zara could respond, the cavern shook violently. The alien technology was fully awakening, responding to the presence of the binary Messiah, both halves in proximity for the first time. A massive holographic display erupted in the center of the chamber, showing the fabric of reality itself. Countless dimensions intersected and overlapped, with their Earth at a crucial nexus point. "My God," Thorne gasped. "This is it, the key to understanding everything." As the team fought off Flameskull's forces, Sarah and Zara found themselves drawn to opposite sides of the alien control center. Their shared code abilities interacted with the ancient technology, creating a feedback loop of immense power. In that moment of connection, both sisters saw the truth. They witnessed the long history of the multiverse, the delicate balance between realities, and the catastrophic consequences of Flameskull's plan. "Zara," Sarah called out, her voice cutting through the chaos of battle. "We can stop this. Together, we can save everything." Zara hesitated, the conflict clear on her face. "But the power, Sarah. We could reshape reality itself." "At what cost?" Sarah countered. "Look at what Flameskull's vision would do to countless worlds, countless lives." As the sisters debated, the alien technology responded to their combined presence. A pathway opened, showing the way to Flameskull's digital realm, the final battleground. Zara made her decision. With a burst of power, she turned on Flameskull's minions, fighting alongside her sister for the first time. "I'm with you, Sarah," Zara said, a hint of her old self shining through. "Let's end this." As the team regrouped, now with Zara cautiously accepted into their ranks, they knew the final confrontation was at hand. The alien technology had given them the means to take the fight directly to Flameskull, to challenge him in his own domain. Sarah looked at her sister, then at her teammates. The weight of multiple realities rested on their shoulders, but she felt a glimmer of hope. United, they stood a chance of saving not just their world, but all of existence. "Let's finish this," Sarah said, her voice filled with determination. As they prepared to step through the portal to Flameskull's realm, Sarah knew that everything had led to this moment. The final battle awaited, with the fate of the multiverse hanging in the balance. Chapter 13. Silicon Showdown. The team emerged from the dimensional portal into a nightmarish landscape that defied comprehension. Flameskull's digital realm was a twisted fusion of circuitry and organic matter, pulsing with malevolent energy. The sky above was a swirling vortex of code and corrupted data. "Stay alert," Drake warned, his weapon at the ready. "Anything could happen here." They made their way through a labyrinth of ever-shifting corridors, facing off against monstrous digital constructs and waves of techno-zombies. Sarah and Zara worked in tandem, their combined abilities creating formidable defenses and devastating attacks. As they pushed deeper into Flameskull's stronghold, they encountered familiar cityscapes from their world, grotesquely reimagined in this digital hell. A corrupted Eiffel Tower loomed over them, its structure alive with crawling lines of malicious code. "He's built a mockery of our world," Thorne observed grimly. "A template for what he plans to do to reality itself." Suddenly the ground beneath them liquefied, plunging them into a sea of raw data. As they struggled to regain their bearings, Flameskull's laughter echoed around them. "Welcome to my domain, meddlers," his voice boomed. "Witness the future of all realities." The team found themselves in a massive digital arena, surrounded by jeering hordes of corrupted entities. At the center stood Captain Flameskull himself, his skeletal form now a terrifying amalgamation of bone, metal, and pure digital energy. "The binary Messiah," Flameskull sneered, his gaze fixed on Sarah and Zara. "How fitting that you should be here to witness the birth of a new multiverse." With a gesture, Flameskull unleashed his full power. The very fabric of his digital realm began to tear, creating rifts that showed glimpses of countless other dimensions. Sarah watched in horror as the corruption began to seep into these pristine realities. "We need to act now!" Maya shouted, working furiously to implement the countermeasures they had developed. As Drake, Thorn, and Maya fought to hold off Flameskull's minions, Sarah and Zara stepped forward to confront the digital tyrant directly. The sisters stood side by side, their code abilities manifesting as a swirling aura of golden light. "It's not too late to stop this," Sarah pleaded, even as she prepared for battle. "Stop? My dear, we've only just begun," Flameskull cackled. What followed was a battle unlike any other. In this malleable digital realm, thought became reality. Sarah and Zara fought with every trick they had learned, every bit of knowledge they had gained on their journey. They created and destroyed entire digital worlds in the blink of an eye, their combined power a match for even Flameskull's terrible strength. But the pirate captain was crafty. He targeted Zara, playing on her lingering doubts and fears. "They'll never truly trust you," he hissed. "Join me, and you can rule by my side." For a heart-stopping moment, Zara hesitated. Sarah reached out, both physically and through their shared code. "Zara, remember who you are. Remember who we are together." Their eyes met, and in that instant, their bond as sisters, as two halves of the binary Messiah, was solidified. With renewed determination, they turned to face Flameskull. "Enough!" the sisters cried in unison. They poured every ounce of their power into a final, desperate attack. The digital realm shook with the force of their combined assault. Flameskull's defenses crumbled, and for the first time, fear flickered in his burning eyes. "No, I am eternal. I am the future," he roared. But it was too late. Sarah and Zara, guided by the knowledge they had gained and the strength of their bond, began the process of sealing the dimensional rifts. They wove a new code, a firewall to end all firewalls, designed to separate and protect the multiverse from Flameskull's corruption. As the digital tyrant's realm began to collapse around them, the team regrouped for a final push towards the exit portal. Sarah and Zara, drained but victorious, supported each other as they fled. Just as they reached the portal, Flameskull made a last desperate lunge. "If I fall, I'm taking you with me," he snarled, his bony fingers grasping at Sarah's ankle. Without hesitation, Zara turned back. "Not my sister, you don't," she growled, delivering a final crushing blow of pure code. Flameskull's form disintegrated, his essence scattered across the dying digital realm. The team leapt through the portal just as the world behind them collapsed into nothingness. They emerged back in the Antarctic base, battered but alive. As the alien technology powered down around them, Sarah and Zara shared a look of exhausted triumph. They had done it. The multiverse was saved. But as the adrenaline faded, a new realization set in. The battle was over, but the work of rebuilding, of reconciliation, was just beginning. Sarah looked at her sister, then at her team, knowing that the greatest challenges might still lie ahead. The binary Messiah had fulfilled its purpose. Now it was up to Sarah and Zara to forge a new path, bridging the worlds of humanity and technology in ways they had only begun to imagine. Chapter 14: Binary Messiah. The Antarctic Research Station hummed with activity as the team regrouped, the weight of their victory still setting in. Outside, the Aurora Australis had returned to its natural state, no longer pulsing with otherworldly energies. Sarah and Zara sat side by side, their hands intertwined, code still shimmering faintly beneath their skin. The rest of the team gave them space, understanding the magnitude of what the sisters had just experienced. "So," Zara broke the silence, her voice a mixture of exhaustion and wonder, "what happens now?" Sarah squeezed her sister's hand. "Now we rebuild. We heal, both our world and ourselves." Dr. Thorne approached, his face etched with both pride and concern. The sealing of the rifts was successful, but there are complications. He brought up a holographic display showing global data streams. While Flameskull's influence had been purged, the merging of technology and human consciousness had left an indelible mark on the world. "We've evolved," Maya said, studying the readings. "Humanity has taken a step into a new era, whether we were ready for it or not." Drake, ever the pragmatist, spoke up. "We need to get ahead of this. The world will be looking for answers, for guidance." Sarah nodded, a plan already forming in her mind. "We'll need to establish a new organization, something to bridge the gap between the old world and the new, to help people understand and adapt to these changes." The binary reformation, Zara suggested, a small smile playing on her lips. Seems fitting. As the team discussed the logistics of their new mission, alerts began pouring in from around the globe. The aftermath of Flameskull's defeat had left pockets of unstable code, digital anomalies that needed to be addressed. Looks like our work is far from over, Drake said, checking his gear. Sarah stood, helping Zara to her feet. Then we'd better get started. In the days and weeks that followed, the team traveled the world, containment unstable code pockets, and helping communities adapt to the new reality. Sarah and Zara, once separated by circumstance and manipulation, now worked in perfect harmony. Their abilities as the binary messiah evolved, allowing them to reshape digital landscapes and heal the scars left by the interdimensional conflict. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. There were those who feared the changes, who saw the merging of technology and humanity as a threat. The team faced opposition from Luddite groups, power-hungry individuals seeking to exploit the new technologies, and even a few remnants of Flameskull's forces. Through it all, Sarah and Zara stood strong, their bond unbreakable. They became symbols of hope, showcasing the potential for harmony between the digital and physical worlds. Months after their victory in Antarctica, the team gathered on the roof of their new headquarters, a gleaming tower in the heart of Silicon Valley. As the sun set, casting a golden glow over the city, Sarah addressed her friends and allies. "We've come so far," she began, her voice carrying the weight of their shared experiences. "We faced the unimaginable and emerged stronger, but our journey is far from over." She gestured to the city below, where holographic interfaces and augmented reality had become part of everyday life. "Our world is changing, evolving, and it's up to us to ensure that evolution leads to a brighter future for all." Zara stepped forward, joining her sister. "Together, we are the binary messiah. Not gods, not rulers, but guides. We'll help humanity navigate this new frontier, bridging the gap between what was and what can be." As night fell, the team looked out over the city, their world. The challenges ahead were daunting, but they faced them united. Sarah and Zara, once torn apart by forces beyond their control, now stood as the embodiment of harmony between human and machine. The binary messiah had fulfilled its prophecy, not by ending the world, but by ushering in a new age of possibility. And as the first stars appeared in the darkening sky, Sarah knew that their greatest adventures were still to come. In the distance, a faint flicker of familiar code caught her eye, a reminder that while Flameskull was gone, the digital realm was vast and full of unknowns. Sarah smiled, squeezing Zara's hand. Whatever came next, they would face it together, as sisters, as heroes, as the guardians of a brave new world, the end, and a new beginning. Epilogue: Ghost in the Machine. 1 year after the defeat of Flameskull, the world had changed in ways both subtle and profound. The binary reformation, led by Sarah and Zara Chen, had become a beacon of progress and understanding in the new techno-organic landscape. San Francisco, once the epicenter of the digital invasion, now stood as a shining example of harmony between the physical and virtual realms. Holographic interfaces shimmered alongside restored historical buildings, while citizens moved seamlessly between augmented and physical realities. In the binary reformation's headquarters, Sarah stood before a wall of screens, monitoring global activities. She smiled as she watched footage of Thorne teaching a class on techno-magic ethics and Drake leading a task force to contain a rogue AI in Tokyo. Zara entered the room, her presence immediately sensed by the building's systems. "Hey sis," she said, a holographic data stream trailing from her fingertips. "Ready for the UN address?" Sarah nodded, taking a deep breath. "As ready as I'll ever be. It's not every day you have to explain to the world's leaders how to navigate a post-singularity society." As the sisters prepared to leave, a small alert caught Sarah's attention. A minor anomaly in the global network, barely a blip. But something about it felt familiar. "Zara, do you see this?" Sarah asked, bringing up the data. Zara's eyes narrowed as she studied the readout. "It can't be." For a moment, the sisters thought they heard the faint echo of a skeletal laugh. The anomaly vanished as quickly as it had appeared, leaving behind an uneasy silence. "Should we be worried?" Zara asked, her voice low. Sarah considered for a moment, then shook her head. "We'll keep an eye on it, but right now, the world needs us. Whatever comes, we'll face it together. As they left the building, stepping into a world of endless possibility and potential danger, Zara couldn't shake the feeling that their greatest challenge was yet to come. Flameskull's consciousness, or some fragment of it, might still be out there, lurking in the vast digital expanse. But as she looked at her sister, at the team they had built, and at the world they had saved, Zara felt ready for whatever the future might hold. They were the binary messiah, guardians of the threshold between human and machine. And their story was far from over. The sisters stepped into the sunlight, ready to address the nations of the world and guide humanity into a new era. Behind them, in the depths of the global network, a tiny spark of familiar code flickered briefly before vanishing into the digital ether, biding its time. The adventure continues.